Welcome back. You're listening to part 2 of our conversation. If you haven't heard part 1 yet, we recommend going back and listening to that episode first, since we'll be picking up right where we left off. Back to our conversation. All right, well, you've mentioned a shortcut and some time savers. This menu can be made ahead of time, which is wonderful when you're having a whole house full of people over. Do you have anything you would add to that would help save time, or just start ahead of time instead of last minute?
Yes. Start ahead of time. Every step of this, if you needed to, could be made ahead. None of it has to be made right in the moment. Although, of course, it's always fun to have dishes coming steaming off the stove as well. Oh, one thing. I discovered that garlic freezes really well. So if you get a big batch of garlic and just run it through the food processor and put it in an ice cube tray, then you can just pop out however many doses of garlic you need. I figured that my cubes are probably about a tablespoon and a half of garlic per ice cube holder. So that is very nice, not to be chopping a million cloves of garlic.
That's a great tip.
Marinade ready.
Very rarely, but I have bought the ones that are pre-done at the store. They have ginger and they have garlic, but I think it comes in a teaspoon measurement. And so then, of course, 3 teaspoons is a tablespoon. Right. And they're kind of expensive. And I'm like, I need at least a tablespoon, maybe 2. I'm using most of this. And it just seemed fairly expensive for this small amount of garlic you got. So doing your own
It's just a DIY version, right?
Yeah.
Walmart also, I think, just recently started carrying diced garlic. So pre-prepared diced garlic, but it doesn't have, I've sometimes used the jars of minced garlic, but they're not always the best tasting. And they just started carrying fresh garlic. So same idea to just freezing it yourself. It's just minced garlic in a bag. It seems to last at least a week.
And it's in the frozen section?
It's in the refrigerated section. And it's, no additives. It's just minced garlic that is stable enough to keep on the refrigerated shelf because it's sealed, I think, when they sell it.
Okay.
And
I'll have to look
that way
for
it's just, nothing added as well.
Interesting.
And then I think I mentioned I usually end up doing store-bought pita. That definitely saves time.
Do you have a brand on that you would recommend? Because there's such a variety.
Yes.
Like when people mention tortillas or pitas, and sometimes I get something, it's like, oh, it's not very good. And other times it tastes much more authentic. So do you have anything you'd recommend?
I am struggling still to find a good brand. I'm trying to think where. So if you go to more of like a health food store, our town has the food co-op. They have a decent brand of pita that doesn't have as much just random things added in, has a better texture, I think. I think because it's not the centerpiece of the meal, though, you can still just use, if I don't have time or I'm doing it for a really big crowd, just whatever Walmart carries. Trying to remember the name. Oh, Joseph's Pita is the brand that I usually get from Walmart. They have a few different varieties depending on it's just personal preference, what taste you want. They have one that's more whole wheatish with flax seed in it, and then one that's just standard white pita. And it seems to just work pretty well, even though someday I would love to be at a point where I can always do homemade pita.
When your kids are old enough to help you cook.
There we go.
That's when you could pull off the homemade pita. When you're girls, of course, your boys will cook too. But I know my daughter, oh my goodness. We had a bunch of people over this past week, and I said, where are you to make the cupcakes? I need you. She's grown and now pregnant with baby number 3.
But congratulations.
She's no longer there to do the cupcakes or the fun donuts or she usually would volunteer for that sort of thing.
The dessert projects.
Yeah, she would have also made the pitas had I asked her. When your kids grow, that expands your horizons.
They're starting to get more and more helpful already. Francis, our oldest, who's 8, he loves making breakfast actually, and has started. It takes a lot of learning to let go and just let them try it.
The flour ends up on the floor. It's
okay. Yes, exactly. The stove is usually very messy after he cooks, but he loves trying to step into that role and is starting to get to the point where it's really a blessing to the family, where he'll make a batch of crepes for the morning sometimes.
Yes. I have a note in one of my recipe books that the year and the date, and I wrote next to it was waffles, homemade waffles. And I wrote down that my second son, Timothy made waffles for the family this morning. And I counted up how old he was. He was like 9 years old.
Wow. Waffles are complicated too.
Totally did the whole thing by himself. And I remember reading this note when I had my youngest. I'm like, okay, I need to start making him do things. He's old enough. If Timothy could pull this off at 9. I don't remember how old he was at the time. He was older than 9, and I was still, I don't know, probably afraid flour was going to end up on the floor. Like, okay, let everybody back in the kitchen.
That's so funny because we're running into the same dynamic now where with our younger kids, I'll suddenly have these moments of realization that I know when your older siblings were this age, they were doing X thing just fine. And I just haven't been training you because it's so easy to coast with the younger ones.
Yes. Yep, for sure. What is your best prep tip when you're having people over? How do you prepare your home, or do you have shopping tips? Anything along those lines?
Let's see. The first thing that came to mind is before your guests arrive, make sure that you eat a little something with protein so that you're not, because often in the flurry of preparations, you will, drink something, eat something, make sure that you're not running on empty so that you can feel more fully present with the guests.
That's a very good tip.
Handful of nuts or peanut butter, or snitch a little bit of the meat as it's cooking, after it's cooked.
A lot of times if you've been busy all day, maybe you've even skipped lunch.
Yes.
I've done that before, or barely eaten, and you feel just kind of weak by the time
Right. You feel almost
comes.
lightheaded, and so make sure and don't forget to eat a little something beforehand.
And stay hydrated, lots of water.
Absolutely. Related to what we were also just talking about, getting the kids involved with the prep. So often one of my older kids will clean the guest bathroom before guests arrive. I have just a non-toxic cleaner that I can let them go to town with. And, you have to check in, make sure things actually happened. But they are starting to get better and better at it. And it's a way for them to feel invested in what's going on as well. I don't know if this is a prep tip. It would be prep for the future. One thing that I have been meaning to do for years and finally started doing this year is keeping a guest log, basically. So not like a guest book that guests sign, but just a record for myself of who we had over, when, and what I served them. So that way it can also jog my memory for inspiration going forward. But also if we're having someone over again, I can check back and I already served them streetcar chicken twice.
A third time doesn't sound bad, but I know what you mean.
So it's just a fun, tangible memory to have too of the years of hospitality.
Yes. Well, and what a great way to jog your memory, because sometimes it does feel like, I don't know what to cook.
Yes.
Do I know how to cook anything? What would be a complete menu? And so if you look back and have numerous ideas and remember, that did turn out really good, and it was easy to prep ahead of time.
Right.
That's
so
a
I've
great
started
log to have.
Making notes about, which recipes scale, like on a separate page, which recipes scale well for a crowd, which ones are more allergy friendly or pack up easily if you're taking it somewhere. So
could make notes about how many people it served.
Yes.
Or just, lots of things. So that's very good advice. And I like the idea of having kids involved. Do you have tools that work just for the kids? I never had that with my kids growing up. I don't even know if it existed, but the plastic type knives or kid sort of safe knives and cutting boards and that sort of thing.
Oh, that's a good question.
At some point I'll buy them for the grandkids, but I haven't tested them yet.
When Francis and George, our oldest two, were starting to help out more, I would often just give them some vegetables to cut, even if I didn't really need the help at the time. And I had plastic, I think they're called lettuce knives for that.
Okay.
And that was a great way for them to get involved when they weren't confident. Yet, as they've gotten older, see, this is exactly what you were saying about the younger ones, because I'm realizing often with our middle child who wants to help, I'll often just be like, no, don't touch the knives. Right, or I'll forget that we even have the lettuce knife, and so he just won't end up cutting things.
Right.
I need to dig that out again.
Right.
The older boys now will use somewhat sharper implements depending on their age and how closely I can supervise at the time.
Right.
So for the kitchen, I think definitely lettuce knives. Other than that, it's been just using whatever I'm using.
Yeah, maybe they can stir or add an ingredient or something like that. What is your best advice for making people feel welcome when they come into your home? Besides the coffee bar, would it be like you can make a coffee order?
Yes. Coffee to order.
Besides the specialty coffee order and the dates and the delicious meal and the Basque cheesecake, what else would you say?
This is just, to go back to the tablecloth idea for decor, That's one of my favorite finds. And also, one thing that we really enjoy doing is putting beeswax candles on the table. And I particularly love using the beeswax candles because they tend to be a lot more, well, they're fragrance-free, basically. They have a very faint, natural honey scent. But I know so many women struggled when they walk into a home with a really strong scented candle, even if it makes the house smell good. So the beeswax candles bring the elegance of the candles. And I think beeswax candles are just so beautiful, too. Mm-hmm. But that way, it's not giving anyone a headache when they're trying to fellowship, basically.
Well, and I had to learn this as I aged. You don't want a heavy scented candle competing with the scent of your meal. Mm-hmm. It's just really odd. Even if it's a food scent, like a caramel apple candle, you do not really want that pervading the atmosphere when you're pulling out a roast and potatoes.
Right.
This doesn't go.
Caramel and cumin are,
Right. This is a little odd. What source do you have for beeswax candles? Do you have a certain place you buy them?
This is another area where Matthew has spoiled me terribly. He got into candle making a couple years ago. Yes, this is classic Matthew. He's just amazing. Like, I'm just going to learn to make these because I had been buying them there was a stand at our local farmer's market that sold them. I had ordered a couple online, but they were just, ouch, price-wise.
Mm-hmm. Sticker shock.
Yes. And he actually has raised bees a number of years as well. We weren't producing enough beeswax at the time to make our own candles, but that I think kind of planted the idea in his head of like, why don't I just find beeswax? How hard can it be? He has the how hard can it be gene. I'm more pessimistic. He is very optimistic.
A problem solver.
Can-doer, yes.
Which makes him a good surgeon.
Exactly. So he started making batches of taper candles and pillar candles. And we did recently run out, though, and haven't ordered more beeswax yet for candles. So I will let you know if I find a source to buy them or if we find a better source to make them from. It's really not that hard, we've discovered, to make them because you use molds. You just melt the wax, pour them into molds with the wicks. It's not like the elaborate dipping process. It's just a very straightforward taper.
This sounds very fun. Are they all the same color, or do you ever color them?
He has tried coloring them some, and that kind of creates a lot of fun variation as well because it's very, like, the tiniest nuance of the drops of color that he'll put in will change the batch significantly, or sometimes he'll collect wax to be a little more thrifty since even the plain wax is on the pricey side. He'll collect wax from the candles that we've burned and melt it back down. So we'll get kind of a new color altogether coming out of that. And they surprisingly are all really beautiful colors. I just wouldn't have even thought of, like, the last one was kind of a seafoam green because it was a blue candle and a yellow candle that he had melted back down.
So when people ask, where do I buy these? Well, you can.
But you can find them online.
What a
Some
fun
are more
project.
affordable than others, but yes.
Right. Oh, that's wonderful. What a fun skill to have. I'll have to think about that. I don't know about raising my own bees, but if I could source the beeswax, but raising your own bees to have your own honey, that would be incredible as well.
We're still working on the honey part. Idaho winters are very rough for bees, so we've had a lot of bees die.
Oh, it would be hard to raise bees, I would think, in this climate, Moscow, Idaho climate, because there's a lot of cold weather here.
There is. Summers
are amazing, but it's a long winter.
It is a long winter.
For this southern girl, anyway.
Oh my, yes. That is a big temperature shock.
Yes, it is. It's kind of the opposite. The South is warm, you would say, spring, summer, fall, and there's a short winter. Here, spring, let's see, how would it be? Summer is gorgeous and beautiful, but fall, winter, and spring are on the chilly side, one might say. To put it mildly. There are some beautiful days that tempt you into believing summer has come, like in the springtime, but
always before the cold snap.
Yes, do not get your hopes up. Okay, great advice for making people feel welcome. And it sounds like your home is beautiful too. When you set a table, beautiful tablecloths, candles, dishes, you have a variety, but you're also willing to pull out paper plates if needed. So all of that's great. Do you?
That is another thing I have discovered for crowds. My favorite plates for serving a crowd, and honestly, they're so pretty, I almost prefer them to my everyday plates, come from the dollar store.
You're kidding.
And that way we did the same thing with wine glasses. So that way it's not a big deal if they break, but they still look nice. They're real glass. The plates are great quality, but they're from the dollar store. So that way we could get a huge stack of them so that we can actually host a large group.
Would they be a particular brand, or what do we look for?
Oh,
or is
I don't
it just
remember the brand. I doubt they even
circle
have
of-
the same ones right now. At the time, they had some really pretty blue and white plates.
blue and white?
Yes,
Okay.
I love everything blue and white. And
Me too.
yes, I think we probably bought out basically their entire stock at our local store.
Well,
But
if you're
they have new
hosting
ones.
all of your family all the time,
Right.
or numerous times a year, to have that as a go-to, and lots of children, like you said, if it breaks, or glasses if they break. So you bought blue and white. What did you buy for the glasses?
They're just basic wine goblets. We decided, we didn't even worry about red wine versus white wine glasses. It's just one decently large bowl of the glass that can kind of go either way. And I think those they might still have, because I've seen them there multiple times. So they're a standard wine glass height, but a little bit thicker stem, which honestly is sometimes easier to hold anyway. You don't feel as precarious when you're holding the really, really fine stemmed glasses.
And you can allow children to hold them, or young adult, sometimes the teenagers may not want to be called children, but
they still get
young
a special
people,
glass. Yes.
they still get the special glass. My daughter, when she was first married, had some elegant wine glasses with probably the very delicate stem. And every time they did dishes, I'm trying to remember if they were hand wash or if she could put them in the dishwasher. Anyway, somehow her husband broke numerous and they just ended up snapping. And so then when they replaced it with what you're talking about.
Something a little bit more sturdy.
This is going to be something we can actually use on the regular basis.
Something that's ready for living, not sitting on a shelf.
Right, because the ones she had probably were more that way, just for elegant dining and very, very carefully do a little bit of soapy water and then off to the side to air dry. And they just didn't have time for that, so they ended up getting a little bit too much rough use. So those are great tips. And in our town, the only dollar store we have is Dollar Tree.
Yes.
So that's where we're recommending Dollar Tree, but I'm sure other dollar stores have similar items.
Yeah. Any kind of just really cheap discount. I know a lot of people find amazing things at Costco. That would probably be another good place. Or thrift stores. Again, we've also gotten some of our favorite glassware from thrift stores, even the really elegant stuff that we have for cocktails or whatever. And that way, knowing that it comes from a thrift store does, even there, just feel a little less high stakes when you're using it, or if the kids want to use it for something.
Yes. When we moved here, I went to Costco, and it just so happened that they had their discount on numerous items. I know with Sam's Club, it's like a kind of a once a month type thing that they call instant savings.
Yes.
I'm not sure what Costco calls theirs, but where you have numerous items all over the store, and the silverware had a $40 off each box of silverware, and we needed some desperately.
Yes.
We had the same sets that we had for the whole time the kids were growing up, and who even knows where everything disappeared to, but multiple things had disappeared to the point where I'm like, I can't even set enough.
You just need some plastic forks in there. Like,
here's a real knife, plastic fork, plastic spoon. How they disappeared, I don't know. So we bought 2 boxes, $40 off each box. It was incredible.
Yes.
It's such a great deal. And now we have full servings for, I'm trying to remember how many were in each box. Was it 12 servings per box or 8? I can't remember. Regardless, that's an idea if you were looking at Costco or Sam's Club, is to watch for their instant savings, because they'll often put things like that on a sale.
I am absolutely going to remember that. And maybe next time we have people over, we won't have to use the plastic forks.
Those won't have to come out of the pantry.
I suspect if I sent the boys out to the yard with a metal detector, we would find half of the missing ones.
Well, that's a good idea. I'm afraid mine ended up in the trash somehow, because sometimes I would, in a hurry, be serving on paper plates, like let the kids have all their grilled cheese and grapes and apples on a paper plate. But maybe they were using real silverware. And so just being in a hurry to get back outside, everything went in the trash. Without them even thinking about it, like not even a thought about what I'm doing.
Yes.
I think that's where mine ended up, but who knows? Maybe one day I'll find out.
Mysteries of life.
Yes, the
mysteries of motherhood.
Life. Yeah, maybe the kids will tell me stories later on. Although, like I said, I really think they really have no concept of what happened themselves as children. But it's funny, as your kids grow up, sometimes you hear stories like, now they're all adults, and we'll sit around the table and they'll start telling some story. I'm like, wait, what? What happened? Who fell off the roof or whatever, you know? Oh, yeah, I don't think we told you about that, Mom.
Thank you for sparing me the anxiety at the time.
Right. But now I'm not real happy about this story. Do you have a kitchen item you would want to share with us? We have the 3 books that we need.
I couldn't resist.
Yes, the books to get us started. But do you have anything that you use every day or a lot of days that you would recommend to
Definitely
everyone?
Every single day would be a good pepper grinder. I get so sad inside whenever I see someone using pepper from a shaker. I know it will work out fine in the end, but there's just nothing like truly fresh cracked pepper. And there are so many grinders that just do not grind the pepper well. So the one I have is the kind of classic vintage style wood where you twist the top. It's not electric or anything. I've seen the electric ones and
that's not good either, huh? Okay.
I love tools that I can touch and handle. So I tend to I dislike using a crock pot, even though I know they're amazing tools. I know they're amazing. I just don't like using them. And I've held out on the Instant Pot. And so same, I dislike electric salt and pepper mills. So a pepper mill that just has a smooth flow to it. I think you can find them at thrift stores sometimes. I heard recently someone say that they found one at Marshall's. Mine is, I couldn't resist. It's a French brand. It's Peugeot. Peugeot makes really, and they're a little bit more of an investment, but Peugeot makes incredible pepper mills.
Okay, how do you spell that if we were going to look it up online?
P-E-U-G-E-O-T. I am very bad at spelling off the top of my head without seeing it, but I think that's right.
That's okay. It's probably close enough that the internet would pull it up.
Bring it up. Williams-Sonoma carries them.
Okay.
And I just love the feeling of a pepper grinder in hand and then also a salt pig. I was looking this up because I was second guessing before I recommend a salt pig. Is that even the right word for it? Because it sounds so strange.
It is the right word.
It doesn't even have anything to do with pigs. It's from the Welsh word P-Y-G-G, which I think refers to the kind of jar. So I love being able to touch the ingredients, observe the cooking with as many senses as possible all the time. So having a salt pig that you can just scoop salt out of, feel the right amount in your hand, especially if you're not measuring.
If you're just doing a pinch.
Yes, a pinch or sometimes like a whole handful if it's a big dish. And that way you control the flow of it. You see where it's going. So salt and pepper, pepper mill and salt pig.
Peppermill is on my list. I read a cookbook author recently. They're talking about some of the top things, the staples you needed in your kitchen, and they mentioned a peppermill, and I thought, I don't have a peppermill. So I need to look this up. This sounds like a great investment. What about your salt pig? Where would you get that? I mean, I know it's not the same concept as a grinder, but still, I bet you have a favorite.
I know people who have even just used an open bowl on the counter, and you're swapping it out pretty often. Plus, salt doesn't really carry germs the same way. I got spoiled by Matthew again. One of his other hobbies is woodworking.
So the man of all talents. Not many, all.
Yes. So I have 2 salt pigs, basically, and one he made, and that's more for like finishing salt on top.
That's so special.
I love it, yes. It's very, very special to have something that he made with his hands. And then the other one is, I don't even know for sure if it was intended as a salt pig originally, but I found it at an antique store. It's this jar with a lid that sits on the wall, blue and white, of course.
Of course.
So it looks almost like Dutch pottery or something. And it just has a wooden lid that you can kind of swat open with one hand and then scoop out the salt you need. And
I need to see a picture of this.
I will send you a picture, yes. So a jar that screws onto the wall?
Where to find such things?
I will keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out. I have a little wooden container on my counter that the lid, it slides to one side or it kind of swings around, and then you swing it back and it has a little magnetic kind of
I've seen those.
Or it kind of clicks magnetically so it stays in place. But you can easily flip it open, grab your salt, and then flip it back. But one that goes on the wall would be even better.
Yeah, just something that you can kind of do one-handed.
Speaking of salt, I know you have a recommendation. What kind of salt do you use?
I have gone back and forth a little bit. So for just everyday cooking, a coarse kosher salt or sea salt is what I use. For finishing salts, I ought to say sel de Guérande because it's French and it's very popular.
Of course it's French, and I won't ask her to spell this one.
That one is also kind of a complicated spelling. However, I'm going to commit heresy and say that I prefer Celtic sea salt.
Celtic
It has the big,
sea
I think it's the
salt.
Celtic sea salt
Is
or
it the
Malden.
gray?
Malden is what I'm thinking
salt.
of, yes.
Oh, Malden is amazing.
And it has, I think you're right, Celtic is the gray one. Malden is what I'm thinking of, the green box. It's usually sold here in the green box anyway.
Is
And
that from
it
France?
I don't think it is. I think
It's English.
I think it's English.
It's English.
So like I said, I'm committing heresy. Don't tell my dad.
Oh, dear. I do have Malden in my cabinet as well.
Yes. And I love if I'm not getting my salts mixed up, that's the one with the pyramid-shaped flakes. And I love the way that it sits on top of food. So I wouldn't use it for cooking, of course, but just for a delicate finish, on chocolate chip cookies or the last step after you've seared a steak, that kind of thing. It's just perfect for that. You really taste the salt, not just as sodium, but as a flavor.
Yes, it is absolutely perfect. It is delicious. If you do not have a box of Malden, sometimes it can be found in a grocery store.
Yes, I've seen it locally.
Or you can order it from Amazon or other places. It is worth getting. It will last a very long time because you really are just using a sprinkle on top of a chocolate chip cookie at the end, or a vegetable you just pulled out of the oven, or a meat. It is from the coastal town of Malden in Essex, England.
There we go.
Harvested by fourth-generation Malden Salt Company.
Oh, wow.
It's world-renowned, and yes, pyramid-shaped flakes are crafted from the saltwater of the nearby Blackwater estuary. So anyway, it is world-renowned. I know that chefs do cook with Malden and recommend it highly. So I think you're in good company.
And when you get the pepper grinder, you will not regret it, I think, or pepper mill. Do we say pepper mill in English? Yes. I literally have packed it with us when we travel so that I have the right kind of pepper. I don't know if I've done that with the salt yet, but at least the pepper, because there's just nothing like a good fresh cracked pepper. I
have gone into the world of salts somewhat to kind of know about different salts, like the Celtic Grey or the Malden or Diamond Crystal. Are there peppers like that? Like, would you be real particular about how you sourced your pepper?
I am not particular. I'm sure one could be particular, and it's probably a whole field that I know nothing of.
I have not heard of different types of peppers and brands and that sort of thing.
I refill it with whatever Walmart carries as the whole pepper corn. Right. I do know, I know that there is white pepper that goes particularly well with certain dishes. I want to say fish. I might be making that up.
That
or
makes
vegetables.
Sense.
Yeah. And then there's, I think they have it in America. In France, commonly you'll have a 5-pepper blend. Has pink peppercorns, black pepper, I think white pepper. I can't remember what the other one is. Yeah,
I've gotten that in a grinder form from Trader Joe's before. I don't know if they still have it.
Yeah.
But the multicolored peppercorns.
Yes, I know the one you mean.
It's fun. Real quick, back to the kosher salt. Do you have a favorite everyday kosher salt that you use? Because there is a debate, about the chefs in general use the Diamond Crystal versus Morton's. But do you have a favorite?
I think I've just been using Morton's. I would have to double check my last Walmart grocery list.
Yeah, that's typically what's sold in the store. Yeah. That's what I used for years. I have Morton's, and I still have Morton's in my cabinet. But the Diamond Crystal is recommended because it's not quite as salty and it's a little bit smaller, I think.
Smaller, okay.
It's still considered kosher salt, but it's not quite as dense and big of a crystal, I think. And so it's easier to put the salt in and not have it be too salty. I don't know. There's just a little bit of a debate about the different salts. So I was wondering if you had a recommendation.
I do not have much of a recommendation, but I'm so curious now. I'll have to like a side-by-side comparison.
And then, of course, people talk about the minerals and salts, and they'll recommend the...
Redmond's.
The Redmond's.
Yeah.
Where it's the high mineral content.
Trace minerals, I think.
Maybe mined in Utah.
I think so.
Possibly. And then, of course, the Celtic Grey and on and on. I love the topic of salt, and I feel like I need more salts in my cabinet. In fact, I think it was the Redmond. I ordered some Redmond, and my husband's like, another salt? It's like, oh, yes.
You cannot have too many salts.
Another salt. A hot tip for kids, speaking of bread and cheese. My daughter-in-law has the Redmond. It is high mineral content, very healthy, delicious taste. And as a snack for her kids, she has homemade bread, butter, Redmond salt.
Oh,
and that's one of their snacks all the time. Like they ask for this bread because it's so delicious and so filling, and just that little bit of salt just gives it so much flavor.
Did you say it's homemade bread too? Does she make is it a white or a wheat?
I am not sure what she's making most recently, but they called it Cece's bread because her friend started her on this recipe, and I think it was a sourdough, but her friend would give her loaves, and her name was Cece, or maybe that's what the kids call her. Now I'm blanking on what her real name was. But the kids called her Cece, and so they would always say, "Can I have really Cece bread or Cece's bread?" And so then it just is always Cece's bread, even if she makes it. But I think it was a sourdough.
Okay.
Although I love when anything would be delicious with some
butter and salt.
Good butter.
I love when food has a story like that,
too.
Yes.
And then for that kind of bread, I'm not sure if she's still splurging on it but you can get it in bulk at Sam's Club in the South and Costco. But the Kerrygold butter,
yes,
just only used for if you're having, say, just the bread and butter,
right? Where you're really tasting the butter,
it, not to do cookies or something like that. But I'm like, girl, can I come over and have a snack? This sounds good. So she had the right idea. Put some cheese with it, and you've got a French picnic.
Voila.
Voila. We'll be right back after a quick message from today's sponsors. Are you searching for hands-on activities to help your kids explore the practical side of science? Look no further than your kitchen. Inquisicook blends food science and culinary arts into an engaging program that puts delicious food on the family table. Let Inquisicook do the teaching with lesson videos, reliable recipes, and assessment tools that put students on track for success. Their online platform is easy to navigate and optimized for mobile, so the learning experience can move from the classroom to the kitchen without a hitch. Inquisicook turns curious students into intuitive cooks, not just recipe followers. Say goodbye to the tyranny of the ingredients list and say hello to utilizing what's in season, what's on sale, or what's in the fridge. Visit inquisicook.com to view sample lessons, then check out the recipe gallery to see just how crave-worthy science can be. Be a time traveler. Sail the seas with Odysseus, escape prison with Edmond Dantes, and defend the innocent with Ivanhoe. Join us at timetravelersLiterature.com. Enter a whole world of story where books uncover the riches of other books, where you discuss classic stories with other homeschool students, and where you are the time traveler, appreciating the work in its own literary tradition, its time in history, and its culture. Find out more and enroll in courses at timetravelersLiterature.com. Okay, so we have some great items to put on our wish list. Pepper grinder is definitely going on there for me. Do you have a story from all of your years of hospitality? You mentioned when you first were married, thinking you knew how to cook, and there might have been some times you learned you needed to know some more about cooking. Do you have any fun stories for us?
I do. So a very brief anecdote first is that I remember kind of realizing this about my own lack of skills when I cooked Matthew a pork chop for the first time. And my dad makes amazing pork chops. I was very confident going into it. And I served it to him. And I think you maybe could have gotten through it with a pickaxe or something, but it was so tough and
I cannot do this.
So dry. It was like beef jerky, basically.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And then
speaking of killing the meat again.
Yes, exactly. I think that one was thrice killed at least. A little later on, once we had moved to North Carolina for Matthew's first job, we had my pastor and his family over, or our pastor and his family over, and really sweet family. We're really enjoying the time with them. I was actually serving street cart chicken. And the big platter, I had made a particularly just large platter of it. It was this big blue and white platter, just, a mountain of the rice and the chicken on top. I think I'd kind of fit it all into this one dish. So it kind of had the vibe I was going for of like Middle Eastern feast. And then we ate in the dining room adjacent to the kitchen. At the time, we had a dog who was part beagle, and he is the most food-driven, rest in peace, the most food, this wasn't his demise, but nearly, the most food-driven dog I have ever seen in my entire life. So we all sat down to eat after serving ourselves at the kitchen table. And at some point, I think one of their kids had gone into the kitchen for something and then came back in and said, Mr. and Mrs. Abraham, is Chaucer, his name was Chaucer, is Chaucer supposed to be on the table? And so we walked in and Chaucer is like back legs on a chair, front legs on the platter, helping himself, going to town, devouring
the food that he had always hoped for.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
He was about to move to Egypt after eating all that. And thankfully, this was after we had served ourselves and sat down. So everyone had had some food. But there were a lot of leftovers. And yes, there were no longer any leftovers after that.
Chaucer took care of that. He thought, well, everybody's gone through the line. It's my turn.
Exactly. I'm just on cleanup duty.
Right. Oh, that's pretty great. That's a very good story.
So beware dogs.
Mm-hmm. Beware of trusting them when you have amazing food out on the table nearby. They are not to be trusted.
It was our fault for naming him Chaucer. Of course, he was going to have a mischievous streak named after a poet like that.
Very good. I love that story. Thank you so much for all of your great ideas, the recipes you've shared, and the tips you've shared. Did you have a quote you wanted to give us before we close?
One last parting gift from Robert Capon's book, The Supper of the Lamb. He has a quote in there that I think sums up just the conversation on hospitality so well. He says, "To be sure, food keeps us alive, but that is only its smallest and most temporary work. Its eternal purpose is to furnish our sensibilities against the day when we shall sit down at the heavenly banquet and see how gracious the Lord is. Nourishment is necessary only for a while. What we shall need forever is taste."
Perfect end.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a delight to have this conversation.
Thank you so much for coming on. And it is true. One of the things that we have to look forward to in heaven is tasting and feasting and actually being able to enjoy truly and fully all of the many, many things that God has given us. And we won't be able to taste them all on this earth.
Exactly.
And we're constantly learning about new things like the dates you mentioned and the olives and all sorts of other things.
And salts.
And salts and pepper. Most likely there's more peppers than we know about.
That's true.
All right. Well, until next time, bye for now. Valerie has been very kind to stay just a little bit longer, and we were going to do just a little bit of a bonus at the end where we talk about receiving hospitality. We mentioned early on that she has 3 boys and 2 girls, but one of her girls, which would make 3 girls, is in heaven. And this happened, about a year ago?
A year and a half. Mm-hmm.
How old was she?
I was right around 18 weeks.
Okay.
And then, just out of the blue, one night started hemorrhaging basically and had a placental abruption. So we had to go to the hospital for that. And there at that point, because it wasn't late enough to deliver and do NICU care or anything, we were basically praying that my body would hold on until we could provide care. But it couldn't handle the blood loss, and my body went into labor. So we delivered her. She was alive when she was born, and we got about 40 minutes with her.
And her name is Amal.
Amal Simone Gloria. Yeah.
It's a beautiful name. And such a difficult time in your life. Obviously, your entire family was grieving, and the church family was grieving with you.
Yeah.
I think in those situations, being on the outside, it's very hard to look at a situation like that and say, I can help in any way. What can I do? How in the world can I offer even any comfort? And the Bible does give us a very clear command to weep with those who weep and rejoice with those who rejoice. And hospitality and so many other commands are a part of that. But how to minister to someone who's going through that kind of loss, I think is very difficult.
Yeah.
Sometimes for people looking on the outside, or to think my small effort does anything at all. Like, how does my text of encouragement or my card in the mail or offer to babysit, how does that do anything? It's a drop in an ocean. But being on the receiving end of that, I would think that you would offer some encouragement to not think that way. So
absolutely.
What would you say to people who might think that? And then also, could you tell us some of the things that you received that really did bless your family?
Yeah. It kind of goes back to one of the themes that we were talking about earlier, and that's God is not a God of the theoretical only. He loves us through tangible means, and that's something that I think I didn't even understand until this happened. I would have felt the same way, like until having lost them all, I would have thought, well, I've not lost a baby. How can I even, my attempt to comfort someone is just going to come off, shallow or
they would think,
insulting
how can you
almost.
understand?
Right. But after going through that, it really did change my perspective on things. The tangible, just very concrete, down-to-earth ways that people loved us and encouraged us. It truly felt like being carried by the body of Christ through a difficult time in ways that I would never have even imagined before. Even with, having all the theological ducks in a row, there's just nothing like going through the valley of the shadow of death and having people who won't leave you alone there. That's it's the ultimate answer to Gnosticism to have something like that happen and see the love of the body of Christ. It was all kinds of different things that people did, from just writing a card, and it didn't even have to, just the fact that anyone would take the time out of their day. I'm getting teary again. Would take the time out of their day to write a card, whether it was, a lot of the local church body, even friends I hadn't been in touch with for a long time from other places we had lived, bringing us meals. Sometimes someone would be like, hey, I'm going to bring you some breakfast stuff with your meal. Just the fact that they were thinking about how to love us through that time, or sending flowers, sometimes from people I had never even met in person. In fact, I remember on the meal train as well, there was someone who I had never met before, probably more than one. Actually, yeah, there were more than one family where I had never even met them before, and they showed up on our doorstep with a meal.
Like, well, nice to meet you.
Yes.
And then they're hugging you and crying with you.
Right. Yeah. Yes. And I think just overcoming that fear of saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. It's God will take your love and multiply it in ways that you can't even see from the outside.
Right.
I'm trying to think of all people would send us. I remember a family friend gave me a copy. It's this little booklet. It's perfect, bite-sized booklet of Samuel Rutherford, excerpts from his works. He had been through so much grief in his lifetime, so he knew what he was talking about. It wasn't written out of a lack of experience, and that encouragement. And again, this person hadn't been through an identical trial to what I had been through, and I'm sure that there are so many times where I will be called on to help love someone where I won't understand what they're going through, something, vastly bigger or just different, but we're still called to help each other support those burdens. And it's an experience that, right. And
even if you haven't been in that exact same situation.
In the midst of the darkness, we felt God's love even more clearly than we feel it in times of blessing sometimes. And that's one of the strange ironies of life centered around the cross of Christ.
Yes. And as you mentioned earlier, the body of Christ held you up. And that's what we are called to do. When we sometimes talk about the church, we talk about that being our church family.
Right.
Well, in darkness, your family would not leave you alone. And even if it's something small, it doesn't matter that it's not what you would think is the perfect word or the perfect thing to say. That doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Just encouraging someone from something you've experienced or the Bible, or just giving them hope of what's coming in eternity or whatever it is, it's what God put in front of you to say.
Yeah.
And again, there's no perfect word or perfect thing that you can do. It does take so many people coming together and doing different things.
Different gifts.
Different gifts.
And even one thing that struck me through the kind of the longer stages of the process is that things, even if there was something that someone said at a particular time that didn't feel like the perfect thing, down the road, that would come back to mind. And at that point, my mind was, more ready to hear it, or just at a different stage of the grieving process where suddenly that thing that they had said or written was like, oh, that's what I need to hear right now. I remember, someone wrote this long letter, and there wasn't anything wrong in it at all. It was just too much to take in almost. Like I was just
need
so
to set
overwhelmed.
this aside for now and come back to it.
And then I returned to it months later, and it really was spoke to me in that moment so well.
Wow. Well, that's very good encouragement. It's very good encouragement to enter into people's grief, not just their good times, their rejoicing. That's easy to do. When somebody's having a great time or a wedding, or you think about weddings, a party of some sort, it's easy to want to be a part of that. But we are also called to be a part of the very low moments and figure out something to do. One thing that I've thought of when I think about this topic is think about what you can do and what God has given you, whether it's resources or time or abilities, and do that thing, and don't look around at what everyone else is doing.
Yes.
If you can make a meal,
true.
make a meal. If all you can do is send a card, or, whatever it is, if you can send some money, some people make donations, or there's just so many things, and don't, I guess, cast sidelong glances or think it's really all about you and whether you're doing something perfect or can be the one that stands out and shines.
Yeah.
It's not about any of that. It's really seeking to say, what has God called me to do in this situation?
Yeah.
How can I bless this family or this particular person? And just do it, even if it feels small.
And don't be afraid of the awkwardness. I think that's something that when you haven't walked through with someone through a dark valley before, it's kind of like this, but I just feel so awkward. What if and when you say something, everyone processes grief differently. I really appreciated being able to talk about it with people. And if someone doesn't want to talk about it, you'll be able to tell. They will still be grateful that you thought of them enough to come alongside them, and you'll be able to kind of feel it out. Like, okay, I think they are grateful for the acknowledgement, and now they're ready to move on or something. It is so worth the awkwardness.
Yes, and even if you can tell they're getting emotional, they really don't want to talk about it right now, it's maybe a fresh wound, just the fact that you acknowledged that I know that you are hurting right now. I'm just going to give you a big hug and tell you I'm praying for you.
Yes,
just
absolutely.
Something, like you said, acknowledging their pain and their struggle. And then sometimes people do want to talk about it and want you to acknowledge
or they need a
that
shoulder to cry on.
That they are going through something, and that gives them somebody to talk to about what is happening in their life. And that's also needed, and grows friendships in a different way.
It does. It really does.
If you struggle together and you carry each other's burdens, in the end of it, you have a deeper friendship than you ever could have imagined. And you just look back and say, wow, we really grew together in that.
Yes.
And I know who my true friends are, really. I mean, you know who you can rely on to get you through the next situation that comes up. Well, very good encouragement. I think that's good to ponder on, because all around us, there's sadness and grief. So knowing how to address it the next time it comes up in your community or in your church, or just kind of thinking through, how can I minister to those people and actually make a plan and do it? It's great encouragement. All right. Well, thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
Until next time, bye for now.